In this video, I'm going to be explaining an intervention called Lego therapy, which we use with our children and young people with social communication difficulties. We're also going to be having a think about how it can be adapted given the current situation with school closures and maybe lack of time around peers and maybe lack of resources at home as well. So, as I said, it's a social communication intervention and it encourages our children and young people to communicate with each other and to solve a problem as a group. There's set rules and the sessions follow quite a clear structure. So the benefits of Lego therapy is it incorporates the children's natural interests. So lots of our children and young people really enjoy using Lego, so it's a great motivating activity to engage them in while simultaneously supporting their social communication skills. Lego, as we know, is a really highly structured and predictable toy, so there's very rarely any surprises with Lego. Our young people know what to expect when they're playing with Lego, and that kind of takes away any anxiety around what might be expected or what might happen during the activity. It's also quite a naturalistic approach, so we find that sometimes we can be teaching these social communication skills in these structured sessions and then thinking about generalising out. The great thing about Lego therapy is it's already quite a natural activity to be building and taking part in a Lego activity with other people, and it's a really good basis there to generalise the skills from. So the aims are to provide opportunities for peers to communicate and interact with, for pupils to communicate and interact with their peers, and that's the most important thing, to give a kind of shared focus that they can be talking about is what our young people tend to be lacking in conversation with peers, so it's quite welcome to have a joint project. It develops their social interaction skills using motivating group activities, so something that they find exciting, interesting and engage really well in, and it supports other skills like developing shared attention, thinking about turn taking, problem solving and importantly thinking about negotiation and communication breakdowns. So it was originally developed for children with autism spectrum disorder, as we know that they quite often have difficulties with social communication skills. However, there's also evidence to suggest that it can support children and young people with anxiety, depression and adjustment disorders, so those social, emotional, mental health difficulties, but also that it has really good impact on children and young people with language difficulties, because there's lots of opportunities to practice language and to demonstrate understanding of language within the activities. So, how Lego therapy works. Typically, if we were going to follow it to the letter, we would have 3 participants in each group and we'd have an adult to facilitate this. So what I'll discuss a bit later on is how we can adapt these numbers given the current circumstances. They're great activities to get siblings involved in, particularly if they're all at home together at the moment. Trying to find projects to do with them as a group can be really good. They are fun and motivating. We also find it's fantastic for our children and young people to have good role models in these groups to model the kind of expected social communication skills in the session. So before you start, you need to decide what the project for the day will be. Particularly good for Lego therapy is very small Lego kits like these are fantastic, but also I'll have a chat about other activities that you can adapt using the Lego therapy structure. They're also, the reason those small kits are also good is that they obviously have instructions with them that have a photo at kind of 6-7 stages during construction, which is really useful for our children and young people when they're explaining what to do next. It breaks it down for them. So if you are doing Lego, it'd be really good to take pictures of the expected progress of each stage as the children will be constructing the figure. So the main thing that we love about Lego therapy is that there's 3 roles. So this is the structure that we try and keep even when we adapt it and use it for activities that are not Lego. So we have our engineer, our supplier and our builder. The engineer is the only person who is allowed to look at the instructions. They're the only person that is allowed to give instructions. So they tell the supplier what pieces are needed and they tell the builder how to build the item. So they are the only person who is allowed to give instructions. They are not allowed to touch any of the pieces of materials. They're not allowed to help build. So they are only responsible for giving instructions to the supplier about what's needed and to the builder about how to put the bricks together. If we're doing Lego, then there's lots of vocabulary involved. So around the supplier, they might be talking about the number of bricks, the type, shape, colour, size of the bricks. So we'd encourage them to be thinking about particularly using their numbers there. So with Lego, we talk about dots a lot. So the one with the 4 dots, the one with the 6 dots. With shape, trying to label shapes correctly. I also get lots of young people describing the shape. So it looks like a duck's head and things like that. So those are also great to encourage as well. So we want our young people to be thinking about how they can adapt the message to make sure that the listener understands them. When they're talking to the builder, we're using a lot of prepositions, thinking about where things need to go. So obviously there's lots of examples here, to the left of, to the right of, in between, and thinking about what bricks need to be used. So again, using the same descriptive vocabulary that we gave to the supplier, to be asking the builder, using that same vocabulary to the builder about which bricks to put up and put where. So the supplier listens to the engineer and they follow their instructions. If they're not sure, they can ask for clarification, and they supply the Lego bricks to the builder. So that's probably the simplest role out of the 3. Listen to the engineer about the instructions about what bricks are needed, following those instructions and that vocabulary to select the right bricks, and passing them on to the builder. The builder themselves, they listen to the engineer to find out how the pieces should be put together. They check if they're not sure, again, that clarification, and they're the ones that build the model. They should be the only person that is building the model. So the rules are no pointing. You must use your verbal language. So we get a lot of, oh, put it there. No, that one. That is not allowed. They have to be using that language. They may get frustrated, and that's something that needs to be managed in the session. Lots of encouragement to keep going, keep trying and rephrasing things, but definitely no pointing. Only the engineer can see or know the instructions. That's really important. Only the engineer can see or know the instructions. The engineer is not allowed to touch any materials. And everyone has to work together. It's important to lay out rules at the start about working together, engaging as a team, and the expectations around that. Particularly, we find with our young people around the way that you speak to people, particularly if they don't understand what you're saying, even though you've said it 3 times, or in how you yourself ask for clarification. Thinking about working together, supporting each other to reach that common goal. So as I said, so we would start with the group rules, then assign the roles and make sure that everyone understands their role. So engineer gives instructions, supplier follows instructions and chooses the right bricks, builder takes the bricks and follows instructions to build the model. So pupils must stay in their role until that model is built. We do not change roles during the activity. Once the roles have been set, that's what they need to stay in. So it can get a bit frustrating for them if they're finding that role tricky, but we really want them to develop that perseverance and have that success at the end, rather than taking that role away from them because they're finding it tricky. At the end, we'll have a chat about what went well and what didn't go well. And if you didn't get time to finish, you can take a photo and continue at the same point next time. The adult role in the group, trying to use minimal language and really only stepping in if necessary. So we want this to be as natural an interaction between the young people as possible. So trying to hold back if you could see that a communication breakdown is about to happen or is happening, and just wait and see what happens, and really only stepping in if you feel like it cannot be managed without your help. Making sure that you yourself are using really good language models, and supporting the understanding and use of language. So offering vocabulary, using vocabulary boards, drawing symbols, particularly around prepositions. So drawing it out before, so this is what in, on, under look like maybe for our children, and just having those visuals available if possible. As I said, encourage children to solve their own problems in this, and model problem solving strategies. So offering choices. So they still don't understand what you're saying. Could you be clearer about the number? Could you explain more about the colour? Could you take a breath, slow down your talking and try again? So those kind of options. So rather than just giving an option, giving a solution, to give a few options and let them choose the best solution to really support that problem solving development. And also to provide positive reinforcement. So they should feel success at the end of this. They should feel that they're doing a good job, and to really recognise what they're doing well and praise it in the moment. So if they give a really clear instruction, make sure that you praise that and say that was such a clear instruction, they were able to follow that straight away. Or I really like that you weren't sure, so you asked them to say it again, or you asked for specific clarification about the number of dots. So on to adapting Lego therapy. So that's how we would do it if we had the right number of children and we had a nice small kit of Lego. Obviously at the moment everyone is at home and may not have access to those things. So just thinking of other activities that we could do to but still including those Lego therapy roles, so that engineer, supplier, builder, and encouraging them to stick to their role, and how they kind of problem solve through that and manage the communication is so important. Okay, so adapting Lego therapy. So some of our favourite activities that we do in resource bases is things like building a tower. So getting scrap paper and sellotape, or any items really. So you could build it using books, you could build it using jumpers, you could however you want really, using cups, to build a tower. So have the engineer in charge, tell them to have an idea or to draw out what they want the tower to look like, give instructions to the supplier about what objects to collect from around the house, and to give instructions to the builder about how to put them together to build the tower just as they wanted it to look. One that we love doing is Malteser run. So you get a table, or you can use a chest of drawers and scrap paper, and we build a ramp all the way down to the floor, and we can roll a Malteser down it or a marble and see how long it takes to roll down. We also like doing things like magic tricks, particularly around things like lemonade fountains. So having the instructions on what you need to do to, so that's the one I think with the sweets, and you put it into lemonade and it makes a lemonade fountain. So following things like magic tricks, having the engineer in charge of knowing what should happen, having the supplier in charge of following instructions to collect the right things for the magic trick, and the builder in charge of putting it all together and making it happen. So one example that we do quite a lot is things like decorating biscuits is a nice one. So this is a few slides from an example lesson I've done on this before. So we have to decorate 3 biscuits with the same pattern. So for this you would need a few plain biscuits like rich tea, digestive, some icing sugar, some water, and a few different bits to decorate them with. So the engineer's job is to tell the supplier what ingredients to give to the builder. So to be really specific, so it might be you need to find 3 white chocolate chips. You need to find 4, 5 rainbow coloured sprinkles. Then they have to tell the builder how to decorate the biscuit. So the best thing to do in this situation is to decorate one yourself first and give it to the engineer so they know what they need to make. Or you can ask the engineer to draw their own design and ask the builder and supplier to support them to make that without showing them the design. The supplier has to listen to the engineer and give the right ingredients to the builder. The builder then follows the engineer's instructions to decorate the biscuit. It's quite a straightforward one. At the end, we should have 3 biscuits that all look the same as the example biscuit, and then we can eat biscuits and talk about how it went. So just thinking about at the moment, obviously children who don't have siblings or don't have siblings who are willing to get involved, and they may just be doing this just alone with an adult, thinking about if there's only 2 of you taking part, that I would combine the role of the builder and the supplier. So we have the engineer is giving the instructions and the builder supplier is following instructions. try and adapt it in that sense. So the engineer is still the one who has access to the instructions and has to express them. Then your builder supplier role has to listen to what's needed and put them together, and the role is still very much around following instructions. Once you've done the activity, you can feedback, so talking together about how you found the activity, what problems you came across and what we did about them, which is another really great moment for that positive reinforcement of acknowledging the things that they did really well and giving them really specific praise for that. Think about what went well, and also discussing what was tricky, what was harder, and thinking about, oh, now we're away from the activity, if we can problem solve, how we would do that differently next time. And as an adult, again, that's a great chance to model your own ideas and give some examples of different ways to solve problems that they can put into practice next time. So I hope that was useful. Good luck, have fun. And if you have a look online, you should be able to find some more videos about Lego therapy, and just to give you some more examples. Thanks.